Hey everyone, it's Wednesday. It's March 3rd. We're going to have an unusual and kind of weird hangout tonight. We have a lot of action going on with some videos, some multimedia. We're going to talk about Mars, going to continue our tour, not of the solar system. I've been reinformed that it's the universe. So our tour of the universe will continue with a special guest who is joining us from Australia. I don't know what time it is there now, but it's got to be. He's been up all night. Okay, that shows his dedication. So Jesse Allen's going to join us later on and give us our tour of the universe. We're going to dive deep into the world of eBay and the garbage that it holds, and also some trusted sellers. So there's been a lot of new stuff happening as far as meteorites and space exploration. And Pat Brown and Jesse were just talking about SpaceX today. So Pat, why don't you let us know what happened with SpaceX's flight today?
Yeah, so I didn't get to listen to anybody's commentary, but I watched the video, and they had a good count. Well, no, they had scrubbed earlier, but when they finally actually did get off the ground, they had a good countdown. Things went right to plan. They lit all three engines. They were gimbaling well. When they went from 3 engines to 2, it was interesting. One engine exhaust plume looked a really good color, you know, kind of a light blue sort of full combustion color, and the other one was really orange, which is fuel rich. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but they went from 3 engines to 2, and then 2 engines to 1, quite gracefully. There was some really cool footage inside the back end of the rocket.
Pat, what's the importance of being able to throttle down and shut off and refire engines?
Yeah, so historically, in the Apollo launches and a lot of the Russian launches, we just you start a liquid rocket engine and run it full tilt, maybe throttle down a little bit at the point of max Q, or where the aerodynamic pressure is greatest on the rocket.
Max G.
Yeah. It's actually max Q.
Is it? Oh, yeah. I'm so wow. I corrected and then was corrected.
Yeah, it's as you go up through the atmosphere, you know, obviously it's thicker, closer to the ground, the thinner as you get up a little ways. And at some point you'll be going fast enough and the atmosphere is thick enough that at some point the aerodynamic forces on the rocket rise to a maximum, and you don't really want to be going full throttle through that. So they power down a little bit by 8 or 10% or something. And so being able to turn on and off engines in flight and radically throttle engines in flight is actually a really good trick. So they needed 3 engines to launch, and that's when you got the maximum amount of fuel. They got a little ways further up, and it was an engineering test. They didn't actually have to do it, but as an engineering test, they went ahead with 2 engines, and you transfer from gimbaling 3 engines to keep the thing pointed in the right direction to gimbaling 2 engines. And so the control system has a big change. And then they went from 2 engines to 1 engine, and then they went up and they hovered for a little while, which is just freaking awesome. It's like,
it's wild to see.
Standing on a beach ball. It looks really graceful from a long ways away if you don't fall off immediately. And then they bellied the thing over by controlling the flaps in the front and the back, and came down. And then the really tricky thing is they're coming down, there's no engines on. They light engines and then pitch the nose up right when they're really close to the ground.
Yeah.
Landed that thing on the ground.
They actually landed it?
They landed it. The only thing that didn't appear to be perfect, and I have not heard any of the discussion about this yet, is it wasn't sitting up exactly straight. It was listing a little bit.
Wow.
So one of the
check
feet.
The chat. I just posted a link. This is still developing news, but the landing went great, but moments after it exploded, and there's a video of it exploding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the video long enough to see it blow up.
I'm just checking the news, and this is only being published by places like half an hour ago. Like, so if you check the chat, there's a link for that. Just a 15-minute video where they're all celebrating on the pad, and like then it just explodes. Like,
yeah. So the thing was burning when it landed, or there was flames coming out of one side, and they had some sort of firefighting equipment going on it. But so it didn't land square with all 3 feet. So the feet have crush zones in them. So they might have mashed a crush zone, or one of the feet might have not have deployed all the way out. But it was wildly more successful than serial numbers 8 and 9.
Yeah. I was just about to ask, was this serial 10? So yeah, I'll tell you what, we're going to actually pause the recording for a second. All right, so right now we're actually looking at the...
He's coming down horizontally.
Okay, the landing of it.
And then he'll flip here in just a second. It looks like CGI when you see it from the ground. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, give her a second here.
You can see the frost forming on the lower fuel tank there, the liquid oxygen tank.
Fortunately,
it's still going forward too.
Fortunately, there's some clouds, so you can see that it's actually descending.
Yeah, right. And right now, the control system is controlling those 4 flaps very carefully and minutely to keep the thing in this attitude.
Oh my God! Look at that.
I mean, that looks like CGI, doesn't it? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Then they gimbal it. Oh my God, that's further than they've ever gotten.
Now, when they turn it off, watch this. This engine will kind of rotate a little bit.
One engine,
like vacillate.
Yeah, and it the engine gimbals.
Yeah, I see that.
And
now just take note of the time. Take note of the time. So this is T plus 6 minutes.
Right.
Because it has the time on the explosion.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing because it's just a bunch of dust at that point.
That's awesome. Okay, pause for a second.
Yeah, that's
so now we're actually looking at it after. How long was it on the ground? Do you know?
This is T plus 14.
Oh,
so
okay, awesome. So
T plus 6, so this is
8 or 9 minutes later. Yeah.
Yeah, 8 minutes later, and this is just a short one, but here we go.
It sucks because they're so happy right now.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no!
Amazing.
No.
Disassembly. That's what they're calling it. That's what SpaceX is calling it. Rapid unplanned disassembly.
Rapid unplanned disassembly. Oh, dude, play that. Oh God, that sucks.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to reuse those engines.
They're still happy about it. They're still calling it a successful launch. Like,
it's a huge success.
Yeah,
what they're trying to do has never been done before. This is
dialogue shown with the browser.
This is cutting edge stuff.
I'm telling you, Elon Musk needs to be man of the century.
Yeah,
so that's the rapid
visionary
assembly.
Wow.
I just saw an article that he said he wants to buy a town in Texas and name it Spaceport. Spaceport, cool. Texas, which I think would be pretty sweet.
There's a town in Arizona called Mojave. That's Mojave Spaceport. So yeah, if you're an internet bazillionaire, but after your meteorite collection, you need to have your own town.
Exactly.
Jesse, did you meet an astronaut, or am I mistaken? Am I thinking of somebody else here?
Yeah, I like. I'm a huge fan of astronauts. So if there's ever any chance, I'll go to the events or fly to the city in Australia that they're speaking. I flew to Melbourne years ago to meet Buzz Aldrin when he was doing his.
I thought you meant Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he's my favorite. I'm a huge fan of his. Yeah.
Oh, good for you, man. That's absolutely incredible. And I'm sure you watch these videos of SpaceX launching a rocket. It's just an amazement, right? Yeah, I'm just blown away by it. Elon Musk is, to me, a superhero.
I wanted to watch it live, but it got delayed twice basically, and it was 5 a.m. over here after the second delay, and I was just like, no, I got to call it quits, get some sleep.
Definitely.
One time back in the day, when they weren't, it was one of the times when they were doing shuttle stand down. I think I was in Florida on business, and that was back in the day when the plane tickets. They said you were a business person if you didn't stay over Saturday night, and they charged you a whole bunch more money, and you were a tourist if you did stay over Saturday night, and the tickets were cheap. So anyhow, we got to stay over Saturday night to save money for the company. And there's a Holiday Inn in Cocoa Beach, Florida, where the astronauts stayed when they were, it's a really old hotel. It's only 2 stories high, has a gigantic pool, and it has this huge piece of land and this beachfront that's, I don't know, some fraction of a mile long. And so I went out there to watch a satellite launch, and it got scrubbed 2 nights in a row at like 4 a.m. But as I'm standing there watching up over at the Cape and the spotlights, this sea turtle comes out of the ocean, comes up onto the beach, and tries to dig a nest in the middle of their volleyball court. And she eventually gave up, but it was such an amazing thing. This thing was the size of a small car. And you're not supposed to touch them and all that kind of stuff. But after she gave up and after she was headed back to the ocean, I walked up behind her and I touched her.
Were you drinking that night, Pat, or is it?
That was back in the day. Yes, that was
my turtle.
Drinking. Yes,
goes for a ride.
Here on the whoa, we got some feedback here on the Topherspin Meteorites Hangouts. We like talking about all kinds of subjects, meteorites and space exploration. I had no idea we were going to get into aquatic life, but let's take a break for 1 second and get into a slideshow presentation. I know I said a slideshow presentation, but it's video and all kinds of good stuff packed in here. Little snapshot of what we got going on tonight. Some new Witness Falls, amazing videos, and I kind of put some video clips together. I don't really have a whole lot of update on Mars, but we wanted to touch on it. We got videos from our 2 Europeans, the Maxime and Marco team, and then to show that we're truly a global organization and global crew, we got Jesse Allen special guesting in from Australia for our tour of the universe. So let's see, how do I get to the next slide? Hold on 1 second. There we go. Okay, so this is a meteorite fall that was captured over Turkey, and I know all the meteorite guys now see the thing I'm looking at and paying attention to in these pictures.
That little mass at the bottom.
That was
7 o'clock.
very, very interesting video.
Yeah, so I have the video next. I think I just pulled it straight off of YouTube, so it has my thing on
it. That's so cool, man.
I like it a lot myself.
Oh my God.
It definitely rocks on the ground.
Yeah, that one had the rock on the ground.
It's like the flash illuminated the mass coming down.
Yeah, now watch this. I did this myself. Bing, 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 bing. That's rocks on the ground, baby. Rocks on the ground. We don't need that. Okay, so that was over Turkey on the 27th, I think. This is the next day over England, and check out that inlay picture.
Yeah.
We have fragmentation everywhere. Well, the bottom one is a star. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure the 2 little spots are stars, but the bolide actually caused fragmentation, and yeah, super cool.
And Topher, your audio level on that last one was a little bit high.
I don't know if I can turn that down, or can I? Let me, when I get to the video, I'll try to turn it down. The reason I have this picture up here from Marco Gaisser, is he sent it and it's in this presentation for today's video for today, the constellation of Orion. Just thought it was a beautiful picture. But if you notice in the meteorite fall you're about to see, it comes right through the constellation Orion.
Cool.
Yep.
And this is over England. That's beautiful. There's Orion. Look at this. How sexy is that?
God bless the people that make those barbell cameras.
Sorry, I just found the volume button. That's probably a lot more comfortable for everyone. Boom. Lots of disruptions.
Yeah.
It's funny it went over Appley Bridge because there's already an Appley Bridge meteorite.
Yes, there is.
Could there be Appley Bridge too? Now,
It would be Appley Bridge B.
yeah.
If there was. Yeah.
Nice. This, I just, for I mean, I'm not an astronomer. I love looking up at the sky, but Orion is my favorite constellation. I even have it tattooed on my body. To have a meteorite or meteor come through the Orion constellation and fragment this beautifully. Look at this. Without words. That to me is just absolutely the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen. Besides my wife.
Topher,
Yeah.
tell me you're gonna add that to your tattoo when you get a fragment of that meteorite.
I have two new classifications that I'm waiting to get published, and they'll be on my arm next. I have some going, and I have room for more. And then I always have another. I have two arms.
There's some really interesting science possibilities with that video too. The other mass that was flying on a parallel path to the brighter mass, we have. I don't know that we've flat out proven this, but there are probably things that enter the atmosphere in a swarm.
Oh,
There
definitely.
are some very, very large strewn fields that we don't really have a good explanation for why they're so huge. Gibeon is one of those. The Gibeon strewn field is like a couple 100 miles long. And so a very simple explanation is that there was a swarm of bodies. And this very well could have been two things in orbit entering the atmosphere in parallel.
I think it is beautiful.
I mean, the other thing is at this time of year for the last several years, there's been falls. So
Yeah,
obviously the Earth is passing through something.
there's something going on.
We're in the debris path of a comet trail or some type of asteroid activity from the belt that's just
And if you,
bombarding Earth.
if you look at this picture, this is before the bolide event.
Yeah.
And there's already two objects.
Yep.
That to me just nails it.
And they're separated by a pretty significant angle there too. Yeah, and by the way, the cometary thing, or the meteor showers that we see at the same day each year, so far as I've been keeping track of the science of that. As far as I know, there are no meteorites associated with any of those meteor showers.
That's
The
correct.
the bits of debris are too small, but I'd love to find the first, second, or 10th one.
Yeah. Well, we do have samples of Mars, and that's freaking cool. I love watching the feed from NASA and stuff, and know that I have hunks of Mars with me, and it's available to us all. I don't know if now the audio was too low in the last one, but I'm going to jack it on this one because this is the first audio recorded on Mars, and it's been audio corrected, meaning the first release of this video, you heard a bunch of whirling and whining and machinery and interference, whatever, from the rover. NASA has removed all of that, and this is what NASA is presenting now as wind on Mars with no rover interference. And I grabbed the wrong one because this has the rover sounds in it. I was wondering why it was so loud. You know what? These things don't go perfectly as planned all the time, but if you look there, I gave you the link, mars.nasa.gov Mars sounds, and the whole web page is full of useful and fun, interactive, cool stuff. So I highly recommend going out there and checking out the web page yourself and listening to the raw audio. I'm sorry, not the raw audio. That's what I did. I grabbed the raw audio, not the cleaned audio. So it makes a difference, and it'll be pretty cool.
Just on that as well, it was that microphone was actually supposed to be on during the sky crane maneuver, and it was supposed to record all of the sound of the like the jetpacks on the sky crane basically going and everything. But unfortunately, it malfunctioned and it didn't record that. So I'm sure everyone's seen the video. There was supposed to be audio accompanying that. So hopefully in the future, we might get something like that where we've got a video and an audio of the landing all at once, but it didn't work out this time.
Yeah, we were supposed to get that. And I noticed that we didn't. Yeah, bummer.
Continuing with the invitation to go out there and educate and explore on the NASA webpage, there's all kinds of fun things you can do. My wife thinks I'm a geek, but I have my name on the planet Mars right now. I'm super special. I'm one of 600 million people. But my name is on Mars, and you can see here that the launch site was Cape Canaveral, the arrival site was Jezero Crater. Yeah, so my boarding pass was accepted, and I thought that the flight was so nice, I boarded my next one. So I'm now.
When are they going to start selling real estate on Mars?
Not yet, but if you look at my next boarding pass, this is a future mission. My scheduled departure is not for another 6 years or 5 years. So
yeah, but you're going to get 3 times the frequent flyer miles. You're going to get 1.1 billion frequent flyer miles in it.
You know, they actually did put the names. They put the names on little silicon chips.
Yeah, that's right.
All of yeah, I signed up to that as well. So like, it's not just electronically; it's actually physically engraved.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it will actually like last on that chip, like the golden record with the Voyager probe. How they estimate it'll stay there for so many billions of years. Like, you think it's going to be stable? It's going to be there billions of years from now, still. You know, those names carved into that chip on the surface of Mars.
Like I said, man, my wife said I'm a nerd and made fun of me. Like, she literally was laughing in my face, openly laughing and mocking me, pointing at me like a school kid. And I didn't care. My name's on Mars and yours isn't.
It's free. Like, why not?
And so here's the web page. If you want your name on Mars for the next trip, we hope there's a successful landing. And if so, you can hit pause right now. I'm not going to the URL, but you can sign up early and get frequent flyer miles. You guys stole my thunder. I love it. We're so educated and involved. No, so I've earned a patch. I have my patch and I downloaded it. As you can see in the upper corner, I'm now a part of the Mars 2020 mission. And there's more patches to go. If I had joined earlier, I may have the Insight and Orion patch, but not too late for future patches.
How are these names going to be displayed? Are they going to be on a titanium plaque or inside of a capsule or something for future expeditions?
Jesse
there
has some
was 3
information
silicon chips engraved with it, but it was like it's incredibly tiny, like an electron microscope to see the engraved into it. But yeah, 3 silicon chips.
James has some information on it.
Yeah, there's actually 3 chips. They're all thumbnail size, and they're you can get a picture of them now on Mars. The rover took a picture, and they're on a support beam over the top of the reactor at the rear of the robotic crawler.
Sweet.
Oh.
That's awesome. Kevin, what do you got?
There's also a family portrait on the rover.
Yeah,
and what it's got, it's just, you know, like on the back of your car where you have your like stick man and stuff. It's got a character drawing of each of the rovers that's on Mars right now, launched from the U.S. on one of the plates on the side of the rover.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know. Let me see here. There are. I want to go full screen so people can see us, but let's just talk about this. I'm going to hit on this for 10 seconds. Come right back to that Easter egg, okay, Kevin? Easter egg. Remind me.
Yep.
There's 4 goals to the Mars 2020 mission, or over the Mars expeditions. There's 4 goals. Right now, Perseverance is on goal 1. Determining if Mars held life, determining if the environment was habitable, and then look for signs of past life. So that's part of the testing and drilling and the reason for landing in Jezero crater with the delta and all that debris there. That's sediment that's been building up. That's the goal. So with that, I'm going to stop screen sharing, and Kevin, let me see here. Kevin was talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about the family portrait.
Yeah, let me pause for a second.
Side of the rover.
Okay.
Excellent.
So that's the portrait hidden on there.
Nice.
There,
and then see the Inspire, whatever, the little helicopters up there too.
Yeah, Ingenuity.
Ingenuity, yeah.
Yeah. So can we name them all? Ingenuity, Perseverance, Curiosity.
Spirit and Opportunity.
Wow, the twins.
And then
the smallest is the hardest to name.
Pathfinder, isn't it? Is it Pathfinder?
Pathfinder.
Yep. Wow.
Sojourner. I always get confused. There was
Pathfinder was the platform, wasn't it?
I think Sojourner might be the rover.
That's awesome. We nailed this, man. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know, but there are a few Easter eggs hidden on the Mars mission. We all know when the parachute opened, it had a hidden message in there. There is a camera calibration tool. Basically, it's a panel that they point the camera at, and they can, do the grayscale setting, the fine focus, all that kind of stuff. Just a calibration panel. Well, in there, and that's for the Sherlock tool. That's very important. You know that it's for the Sherlock hint tool. So if you want to figure out or go on the hunt for a Martian Easter egg, you can Google the Sherlock camera calibration panel or any variation thereof. Take a look at it in detail and see if you can figure it out. If you can, drop me a message, because I figured it out like that. It just came to me. It came to me. Now, the parachute, not in a million years. It's been explained to me 3 times, and okay, whatever. I'll take your word for it. But so there's the parachute, family portrait, the message on Sherlock, and in a previous mission, the ribs on the wheels left a trail that somehow encoded JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
In Morse code, yeah.
Morse
In
code?
dots and dashes, yeah.
I love nerds.
and Topher, I have a short update. I don't have any good video. I'll try sharing my desktop, but a short update on the PIXL device, which
awesome
is one of those nerd envy things.
Okay.
Which is designed by an Australian scientist, by the way.
Ah, nice.
And she grew up in my hometown. She's a big hero. Abigail Allwood. Yeah. She's the first female and the first Australian principal investigator for a Mars mission. And she designed the PIXL. So
she's the one on Facebook with the gorgeous, gigantic blonde ponytail.
No, she doesn't do a lot of the. I think it's a lot of the underlings that do all the media appearances. She sort of keeps a low profile. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay, share.
And while there's a slight pause, allow me to do a break for station identification. You are tuned into the Knowledge Bolide on Topherspin Meteorites. I am about, I think, 25 people away from 1,000 subscribers, and then I'll leave everyone alone, okay? Just don't unsubscribe. So I'm really happy, and we're going to touch on that later on, but go for it.
Yeah, so the PIXL device, I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of multimedia here. The PIXL device is this sort of, foot on a side sort of thing that's on an arm. And it is like a combination between an XRF machine and an electron microprobe. It's essentially a scanning X-ray fluorescence rig that has a huge dynamic range. It's wicked fast, small spot size. So the raster from one line to the next, it scans like an old television. Those lines are 0.12 millimeters apart, or 120 microns apart. And the spot size is as small as 100 microns. Now, you can do better than that with an electron microprobe, but that's still pretty damn good. And this thing is wicked fast. It works off of a very small number of counts. It can get element identification to within 0.5% by weight in 5 seconds. So you can actually do multi-element maps like they do with backscatter electron stuff. You do multi-element maps off of the camera view, and this thing has a visual camera that's calibrated with it, and it's got a whole bunch of calibration targets, and I believe that 2 of those calibration targets are slices of Martian meteorites that we hauled back to Mars. So that's what I had there. I'll turn it back to you, Topher, for Jesse.
I've got an interesting story about that. So the scientist that's working on that, when it was announced that she was the principal investigator for this Mars mission, or for the PIXL on the Mars mission, she did like a tour of Australia and was speaking at all the universities about it. And I remember after the talk that she gave at my university, in part of it, she pulled out a Martian meteorite, and she was talking about the old Allen Hills meteorites, I think, and how there was the controversy about that potentially having evidence of life and all that, and how that was inconclusive or proved to not be what they thought it was. Anyway, I remember that blew my mind that she had a piece of Mars. I didn't know that Martian meteorites even existed. And she said, anyone that wants to hold a piece of Mars, feel free to come up afterwards. And all these people were like lining up to hold the piece of Mars, and I was one of them. And I remember getting a photo of her and the Martian meteorite, and that was the first time that I ever, really thought about meteorites or you know, held one in my hands or anything. So yeah, she was pretty cool for bringing out that piece of Mars.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
Jesse, if you have to own your own piece of Mars, I know a guy.
I own plenty of pieces of Mars now, unfortunately. Plenty of thousands of dollars later, yeah.
Topher, can I make a quick comment about Mars landers and the and those rovers that
Absolutely.
were
Everyone, Stephen O'Mara, the Wool Man, the Wolf Man himself.
So if you look at that family portrait of rovers, the smallest and last one that was on that is actually Sojourner. And Pathfinder lander was the landing vehicle that brought it down.
Wow.
So in The Martian, if you watch the
Sojourner.
movie The Martian, the thing that folds up, that's Pathfinder, and then Sojourner
Pathfinder lander,
is
yeah.
inside it. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome.
It just like it opened up like a flower petal, and then the rover
drove off.
Sojourner
Drives
just
off,
drove
yeah.
right off and
Sojourner,
went onto the
yeah.
surface of Mars.
Yeah. See, here on the Hangout, man, like I said, there's no egos. We're trying to get the information accurate out there. We may misspeak it sometimes, and you know,
I just
don't blow up the comments. We'll correct ourselves.
I couldn't remember the name before, and I was like, I know it's a different name, but that's all right.
Yeah. Kevin?
While we're on the
And then
topic of
I don't know
Mars,
if you guys can see this. This is what Jesse was referring to. This is a stamp from Guyana, but that's the meteorite and what they saw in it
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and-
Alan Hill's
that they
84001.
thought might be organics, which
Right.
that
it
might
was.
be an expensive meteorite to get a piece of. Can you even buy? A
Well, you can own that meteorite, but it comes with a free stay at a federal penitentiary for a long time. 3 hops and a cot.
It's a Antarctic
yeah.
meteorite.
The Antarctic meteorites, all the countries signed a treaty that came into effect sometime after 1976, wherein no private individuals can own any materials from Antarctica. They're only to be owned by institutions, universities, etc., museums. The Antarctic Search for Meteorites, or ANSMET. I'm not wearing my ANSMET t-shirt today. I'm wearing my Topherspin Meteorite t-shirt today. But this was a little robotic search for meteorites that they did as part of ANSMET. But ANSMET is responsible for 2/3 of the meteorites that we have on Earth, of the classified meteorites. 2/3 of them.
Actually, that's what I've always wondered, because you hear about it being a great place to search for meteorites. I'm like, how come I never see any come up for sale? And that's funny. You just hadn't heard that
you actually do see them for sale. There's
Teal Mountain,
Palisite, and then there's Allen Hill's 76009 that you'll find pieces of for sale occasionally. They're expensive. I'm looking to get one of the Allen Hill's 76009s. But anything after that, cannot be owned by individuals.
I like that they give us some amazing statistics, like the fact that there's probably like a nice meteorite fragment every 3 acres of land, but locating that meteorite fragment is next to impossible. But
yeah, and at some point in the future, maybe we'll have to do a show about see if Topher wants to do a show about ANSMET and about Antarctic meteorites. There's a fascinating concentration mechanism.
Ooh, maybe meteorite statistics.
Yeah.
Like finding meteorite.
Yeah. Another thing that's unique, and I think, that's a great topic for a show, because one thing that's unique about Antarctic is that a word? Antarctic meteorites, when let's say an NWA strewn field, they find 5 or 6 rocks that look identical and they're next to each other. They're all considered the same. They're all, and that's how it's done. In Antarctic, every single rock is classified and numbered and individually ID'd. And so if you look at and search for the Met Bowl for only Antarctic meteorites, you'll see you know, 3 gram, 12 gram, 5 gram, 8 gram, 12. It's like anything they, I mean, colossal ones too, but any rock that they find gets classified by itself.
Yeah, and so there's a couple of really good books. I can only lay hands on one of them immediately. This one is by William Cassidy, who is the principal investigator for ANSMET for several years. There's another one called 35 Years of Antarctic Meteorites that's out of print now and gotten expensive, but that one is really good as well. But this whole Antarctic meteorite thing very quickly started with the Japanese, the National Institute of Polar Research in Japan. They had some geologists down there for another reason in the late 68, 69, something like that. And this guy was outside and bored and was walking around and looking and picking up rocks. And in a way, you know, house size lot area, 1/4 acre or less, he picked up a bunch of rocks and they turned out to be meteorites. And not only that, but he found meteorites from 5 different classifications in one tiny area. So we can talk about it later, and it's a very interesting story. But there's a concentration mechanism. So, you know, here on Earth, we find 2 rocks beside each other. You know, yeah, they're likely going to be from the same fall, except in some special areas like Gold Basin and one of the areas I hunt in Nevada. But in Antarctica, entirely different story.
Hey, Jesse. And here's a Thiel Mountain, little
nice. Nice.
Now talk about people laughing at you when you show them something if they don't get it. You know, they see this tiny speck and it's really a big joke. But yeah. I mean, that's amazing to me. So
I have when you zoom in on the camera to buy an Antarctic meteorite now. Like that's on the list.
Yeah, here's another Thiel Mountain, and I also got an ALH 76009. So you can see that.
Yeah.
ALH 76009. You can get some bigger pieces of that. Those come around.
And how that numbering works is, I believe 76 was the year it was found, and it was the 9th meteorite found so far in that year.
Yeah, that's how it works. So it's under the NOMCOM's dense collection area scheme, and so the various different blue ice fields where they find these things, where the concentration mechanism works. Yeah, it's that area. And then the collecting season, which is kind of confusing because it's November, December, January, so it clicks over a year, but it's the austral summer. And then the numbers are supposed to be sequential, but sometimes they cheat. Like when they found in the Allen Hills area in 1984 collecting season, when they found 84001, the one that was studied, that's a Martian that was studied and they thought included life. Certainly has some very fascinating carbonates that are the building blocks for life.
Oh, that's an absolutely unique meteorite too, Pat, because that's the only one of its kind. That's the only ultraperoxenite from Mars. 101.
It's a very unique meteorite, but it was not the first one they found. There's a fascinating book about that. I'll try and find the title of it, but they changed numbers on 2 rocks and they made that one 001. So, and they put it on top. They shipped these things back in these giant coolers with dry ice in them to get them all the way to the Smithsonian to be able to study them. So anyhow, they made that one 001 and they put it on top when you open the box.
much sexier to call it 001 than 004 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that isn't underhanded and cheating. I want to shift gears and show you something that is underhanded and cheating. There is a bunch of fraud on eBay. So with that, I'm going to hit pause. We go now. All right, so we're recording and we're talking about eBay scams, and you'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Now, I think I thought that was about the Barbary Coast, but I think that's about some dive bar in Star Wars, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mos Eisley Cantina.
Actually, Mos Eisley Spaceport in general, to be a Star Wars nerd.
Yep, true.
So before I do anything, I want to say that there are very valid, very reputable, extremely awesome resellers on eBay. So I'm going to start off by showing a few reputable people and look at the information, and anyone, please chime in. I'm starting with my own page, obviously. You'll see here, I actually own a company. You can Google it and find out who I am. You can also find out that I'm an IMCA member and do some research. Let me actually do this with that. And you can do some research and find out who I am. I don't know if I went full screen for you guys or not, but I even have my email address on here. If you look at the items I'm presenting, every single one of them has a weight, a description, NWA number, full descriptions. We're just going to dig into this one real quick. It shows that it is a, it gives you a full description with features of the stone, an exact weight. It tells you that it's NWA 12594 paired. When you come down here, you realize that you get a lot more information. I go overboard, but this gives you a lot of information about what you're getting, the description of the stone. It shows that the seller knows what they're talking about. And then I have some accreditations on here as well. So this is an example of what I would assess as a quality sales. You have descriptions of everything, full information. I even give you the provenance. It was purchased by Edwin Thompson. Like, everything you could want is there. So enough of me. Let me show you, two other people that I think are noteworthy. This is Matt Stream of Streaming Meteorites. Now, if I was him, I would change his information up here and make sure that Streaming Meteorites was included in my description. Don't mean to bag on you. He's got a great rating, 0 negatives. Let's look at his items. Right away, we see identification, classification, weight, more information. Quality pictures, everything's in focus. Everything looks legit. Everything looks real. You can dig into any one of these. And like, here's Aquazarchus. So this is Aquazarchus. He has it named, the classification, the weight, and some features. When you scroll down, he gives you the Met Bull information of what you're looking at. The meteoritical bulletin is the Bible. If it exists there, it exists. If it doesn't exist there, it doesn't exist. He gives information of provenance, COAs, displays included, all the information you want, including where it fell, where the fireball, like, there's lots of good information here. And you can go to any one of his items and the same information is there. Here's one that's not classified, so let's take a look at it. He's calling it a meteorite. That's a statement. It's an NWA, so it's unclassified. It's probably an L5 impact melt breccia. Gives you the weight, and let's look at the pictures. Well, it's definitely a meteorite. You can tell right away. Different weathering on the outside.
And you can tell it's Matt because he's got blue gloves.
Yeah.
And You can't see it in this picture, but he also has a large amount of my money.
Yeah. Well, because he's one of the few, not few, he's one of the choice ones. Well, if you look at eBay in general, he's one of the rare ones.
Right,
And most of the people I deal with are the rare ones, you know. So here, excuse me, gives you some information. Again, he's not saying it is anything. He's saying it's probably this. That gives you more information about it, oriented flight, describing the item. If you decide to classify this meteorite, you'll have the main mass. He's encouraging scientific analysis. It comes with a COA. So and then he gives you some education. Impelt melt breccias are this and that. So that's an informed and quality eBay seller. Everything there is legit. And again, this is Matt's stream of streaming meteorites, and that's his. You can do a screenshot right there for his name. Another one I want to highlight is another friend of mine, Mark Lyon. If we look at his front page, we see right away, IMCA member, board of directors. And 0 negative. It freaks me out. He only has 90 positive because he's extremely active on eBay. He has very high priced items, and he runs almost weekly auctions. I don't think he's running any right now, but that's just due to the fact that he's fulfilling the auction orders from last week. We had a discussion today. But if you look at this right away, you might go, wow, an $80,000 rock, come on. Read terms before, like this looks, something doesn't look right. Well, no, you look down here and he's telling you that he's having the caliche cleaned off. He's building a custom stand for it. That it's being classified and will be listed in the Met Bull, and you'll be the owner and the main mass. So again, reaching out, and it's already being classified. So showing you that science is going to be involved. If it's not, you're entitled to a full refund. Gives information of who he is, IMCA member. And let's take a look at just some of this. Happens to be a beautiful piece of lunar, so let's take a look at it. Doesn't have big pictures, but yeah, that's all caliche, and that's going to be cleaned. So when you get it, it's not going to look like that, is kind of what he's saying below.
Quick question: what is caliche? What is that?
Caliche is a clay that is a predominant type of soil in many desert areas where meteorites are found, including Australia. Not the Munderbills, but the camel dongos and a couple of the other achondrite Australian meteorites have that red iron soil staining on them. That's caliche.
So just to check on that, does the caliche form where it's in contact with the soil, or does it form on the exposed part, or where does it form, just out of curiosity?
It's on contact with the soil, and
it like leaches up from the soil onto the rock.
Yeah, and there's actually a chemical attack as well, and so chemical methods are used to remove it.
Mm-hmm.
It's predominantly a carbonate, so it's almost like a limestone coating that forms on the outside of the rock from the carbonate content in the soils. So I mean, it can be removed with acids, just like acid would eat away at a limestone statue.
Yeah. So when you have when you have a chondrite, you can soak it in vinegar, and that helps loosen it up and remove it.
That's cool. One of the things I've always struggled with is figuring out what's fusion crust, what's desert varnish, what's caliche, what's all these different weathering things that can happen to. Yeah.
Since we're talking about eBay, it's all fusion crust.
Oh, yeah. Everything on eBay is fusion crust. Well, just to show you that, like, everything here is 100% legit. Weights, NWA numbers, and if you actually did a search for the NWA number, you'll find out that Mark Lyon is the main mass holder. So if the main mass holder is selling you a meteorite listed that in the meteorite bulletin, that's a pretty safe bet. So those are a few people that I wanted. There's others I can show, like my buddy Juan, Jurassic Dreams fossils. He has a bunch, nice cube. He has a bunch of really good meteorites. And again, this is, if you do the search, you'll find that NWA 13137 is owned by Juan Pablar, and he is with Jurassic Dreams. And he identifies himself in these things. So if you're trying to sell a piece of little chunk like this of Mars for $128, you better have good in focus pictures. That's another test. He has the IMCA certification. You can always go to the IMCA webpage and check his credentials. He has direct link to the Met Bull. And if you notice on here, let me see here. Yeah, it gives you, he's giving you all the information on it, and he gives you his name and information and the provenance of where it was purchased from. So again, another very legitimate listing. And when you scroll through his offerings, every single thing looks legit. Now, let's look at some not so cool ones. So go to my watch list.
And Topher, while you're queuing that up, I was just going to say too, you know, a great resource is this group, you know, and any other forums out there. You know, if you're new to collecting meteorites and you're looking on eBay, get a qualified second opinion by someone who's been collecting for a long time and who uses eBay as you know, one of their acquisition mechanisms. You know, that's always, you can't go wrong doing that to get a second opinion. Yeah.
One thing about eBay is here's Stir Fry Fred. That's not his birth name. So it's so easy to hide, and part of eBay's their magic, what eBay is it's confidential. They don't want you talking to the seller. They want their 10%. So you're not supposed to know who they are, and they're not supposed to know who you are. So that anonymity gives people the ability to pull crap like this.
So an Arabic name claiming it's a lunar meteorite, and then Brechgia Retholith, they don't know what that means.
Yeah.
There aren't any lunars from the United States, so it's probably not from Washington, USA.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it obviously doesn't have any fusion crust on it.
What's absolutely funny about this one is when he originally had it listed, he had it listed as my friend's classification. I can't pronounce it, but Cisterine 001. I called him out and I gave him screenshots saying, my friend is listed in the Met Bull as owning this meteorite. He spent hundreds of dollars and spent money, 20 grams worth at least, sending it to a lab. That meteorite is from Algeria. You can't just slap someone, you can't steal someone's classification name, slap it on your meteorite rock from Washington, give it an African name, call it the moon, and like, would you ever see me selling 60 grams of the moon for $32?
That's sad that it's got bids on it though. It's got real bids. Like,
I know.
Yeah, that's
it sickens me.
There are lots of stupid people,
which means it started way below $32.
Yeah. So if you look at his information, he is so happy about it's going to be shipped with 10 layers of bubble wrap. Oh, Stir Fry Steve.
10% goes to his favorite charity, the skate park project.
That is another red flag. Anyone?
I'm impressed by his explanations of it's been rounded in orbit, the orbital rounding.
Where does he say that?
He had like a whole bowl of round lunars.
Yeah. Well, the guy. Oh yeah. So So once you identify an obvious fake, or let's just say you were looking at this and going, you know what? That's a great deal. I can get a hunk of moon, and you know it's really cheap. Well, let's look at his other items. See what other kind of crap Stir Fry Steve is selling in 10 layers of bubble wrap. Lunar, okay, this is my favorite. It's lunar breccia encased in Mars. It's the jelly-filled donut of meteorites. Like,
and it's a fresh fall.
are you serious? Like,
Yeah,
and let's look at his quality photos. One picture with nothing to scale. You are a moron, Stir Fry Steve.
Let's look at off this driveway.
Oh, shipped unclean with bubble wrap. Well, we're so happy you're I bet he is a member of the bubble wrap mafia. I've been accused of being a member of the Meteorite Mafia. I guarantee a Stir Fry Steve and his skate park buddies are running the bubble wrap mafia of America. Let's look at other crap this hoser's selling. And I have no love for this guy, because if you scroll down, he's obviously into playing cards and games and bunnies and rabbits and unicorns and goofing off like a come on. If you're going to be,
I am glad you went for that one, Topher, because I'm with whoever said it before. It's sad that someone is bidding on that. So if we can get him off of there,
this guy everyone needs to blow up this guy's account and make eBay a nasty place for him. Stir Fry Steve and the bubble wrap mafia.
He's probably selling he's probably selling fake magic cards. I wouldn't be surprised as well.
I wouldn't put anything past someone that you tell someone you are stealing my friend. And not only that, but my other friend is the scientist who classified it. In the last 12 hours, I was private messaging both of them about different subjects, and I was able to include screen grabs showing that I know the guys listed in the memo as a classifier and the owner. Stop stealing from my friends.
Read the description on the $100 one.
So you're saying that eBay doesn't have a code of ethics, a standard?
eBay doesn't have anything.
There's a scammer there. They should immediately ban him.
He's got
ever selling anything on eBay.
He's got asteroid Breccian, like there's a planet Breccian or something,
wow.
and planet with a question mark.
Yeah.
So it could be from Mercury. It could be from Venus.
Look at these things. Do they look like meteorites at all? Stir Fry Steve and your Meteorite Mafia.
Gravel.
Well, but he didn't. That doesn't look like gravel. That looks like he might have actually traveled to a creek bed.
Okay,
oh, here we go. Right. Read the, yeah, this is awesome.
Oh, it's a dwarf planet, guys. Yep.
They fell fresh, had higher surface moisture than rocks in my yard.
Dude, if your scientific method is comparing moisture with yard rocks and then wrapping it in bubble wrap,
unclean bubble wrap.
Oh my God!
Then someone on the net just told me they think it's a dwarf planet.
Yeah, okay. The thing is, when someone tells me it's something, it's because I paid that lab to do scientific testing. And then it's published scientifically and it's proven scientifically. Not some internet guy told me it's a. No, I think what he meant to say is some dwarf told me it's a planet.
This just gets better and better too. Read the last line.
He says the one on the right seems to be Breccia that's also spent time in the asteroid belt.
No, in asteroid belt.
Who want this in their collection?
Not in the asteroid belt.
Okay.
In an asteroid belt.
Oh, and asteroid belt. Yes. Well, actually, there are more than one around our
an unbelievable visit to the junkyard of this. Now, the thing about it is, if you go to the guy, Stir Fry Steve, he has a higher rating than me. Okay? He has no negative. This score is absolutely useless. You can buy accounts that have been dormant for years.
Yeah.
Don't pay any attention to feedback. Go on science. Look at what we're looking at. Let's look at another.
Topher, would you real quickly, while you're on a listing, would you real quickly show us the series of steps to report one of these things?
Okay, I'd love to.
Intuitive.
Yeah, let's look at this. This bolo rocks. Let's confirm that they aren't first. So I'm not going to assume anything. What the hell is that? What? Stir fry, Steve, please don't bubble wrap that. Dude, are you serious?
Oh my god.
Okay.
It's like it was picked up in the local dog park.
Beyond ridiculous. You scroll down over here, report item. You list it as a copyright. You list it as a counterfeit, and you list it as a fake. When you're done, you say,
to fill out. Yeah.
This is not a meteorite. I am an expert. Please end all his listings. You only have so many words.
Now, of
submit.
course, they don't really want to do that. They want to sell anything because they get 10% or more.
All right. So
but
when you're done with that, when you're done with that, you take his name and you go to eBay, you go to help, and you say, I want to report. And then you report the seller.
Oh, I didn't know this.
You report the seller has violated eBay's policy because an expert has educated him, and the guy on the net who told him it's a dwarf planet should no longer be trusted. He's now educated. He knows that it's committing fraud. He knows it's Earth. He's still claiming it's a meteorite. We're going to report him. You put his name in here, and then you have 1,000 characters to validate who you are, why you're reporting them, and full details.
Nice.
Both steps need to be done, and I can't hit submit or I will get blown up because Stir Fry Steve and I have had a little bit of messages going back and forth.
Yeah.
The other thing too is if there's any way you can work into this thing that somehow they're cheating eBay out of their 10%, that will get a lot of attention.
Yeah. So this is one I'm super proud of. You should know there's 0 chances it's a real meteorite. Please end this listing. Nothing you have listed is a meteorite. I'm a meteorite specialist, board of directors, and pioneer member of the Meteorite Club. IMC member number, METS number, and I own a meteorite company. Just search for it. My personal friend actually paid the lab fees and classification of Tisterine 001. Using his name is stealing and fraud. I give the link to the Met Bull. It is from Mali, not the United States. Please stop defrauding my friend. We are both trying to run ethical and scientifically accurate businesses, and scammers with no meteorite knowledge are not doing us or the end buyer any favors. Look at the attached pictures of the real whatever one. It is a personal gift from the main mass holder to me. This is pretty low. I pay thousands of dollars to labs to donate material to universities to have the honor of being the main mass holder of an official meteorite. You are a cheat or highly uneducated. Stop this listing. Stop trying to play games. And here is.
Well said.
So take whatever you want from this, but this is how I deal with them. I over bombard them with truth and facts, and if they don't respond correctly, I go ballistic on them on eBay, reporting them for the frauds they are.
Makes you wonder about the motivation, whether they do know what they're doing or they're just actually delusional. But I don't think there's any way that we're going to be able to understand the mindset of people.
They're con artists. If they weren't doing this, they'd be cheating little old ladies out of their money. And if they were really successful, they'd run a Crystal Cathedral thing on a TV station in LA.
Yeah. Here's a beautiful, here's a beautiful hunk of Chessigny. Now, Chessigny only goes for like $5,000 a gram.
Yeah.
And here he's selling 26 kilos of the largest Martian meteorite. It was found in Texas, but it's Chessigny.
Yeah.
Like, And then anyone who goes into narratives of how they found it, blah, blah, just hit next. You know, let's look what else he's selling. Nothing. You know why? Because I had him removed. You like that? Chesigny boy? Shut you down, didn't I?
Nice.
Sorry, that was just for me, not for you guys as much.
I remember a while back, Topher, you posting something about someone claiming that they found some quasi-crystal thing, and there's some little like crazy scammer lady. Anyway, I
there we have it right here.
Out of curiosity, and she was telling me it was worth $45 million. Like, but she was willing to let it go. She was willing to let it go for $1 million, even though it was worth $45 million. I just thought he's like,
jumped on it.
At least aiming for the stars.
This is look over extremely rare quasi-crystal meteorite fragments. Okay, first off, what classification is it? What's the name of the meteorite? And what is the weight? You're charging $600 for it, but wait, let's take a look at it first. That's not meteorites. I mean, come on.
You can see the quasi-crystals from all the way back here.
Yeah, I can smell the BS over my webcam. Okay, so now I have over 100 grams and we'll divide them or sell $600 per gram. So you're not getting this. You're getting a gram of that crap for $600. Like, do people?
And so she's cheating the system, and so you can tell eBay that this one they're trying to get out of paying the eBay fee by this shell game thing of 1 gram for $600 versus a pile of them on a scale.
It's just ridiculous. So let's look at some other stuff that she knows so much about. Native American Indian stone, and she can predate it, or they can predate it themselves, no doubt. So, and a Coca-Cola bottle. I hope that they meet up with Stir Fry Steve and bubble wrap the crap out of that expensive bottle.
It contains cocaine. It contains cocaine.
There's an effigy shaman stone.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a beautiful picture. It's obvious you care so much about your meteorites, and I should dish out my money. Okay, so these are just
$33.
These are just some of the examples. Look at this. Genuine meteorite seen falling, now recovered 3 years later for sale. Certs. Okay, there's no weight, there's no classification, like, and it's $23,000. Yeah, certified by NASA.
In Texas,
NASA does not certify space rocks. They go and get them.
Very recently did they go and get them? Yes.
Yeah, it's so if it's certified by NASA and by Texas University, I expect there to be some scientific information on your sales, but there's nothing. And the only thing we get is a picture of, like, that's, you want me to give you $25,000 for this thing and you can't even provide me with a screenshot from NASA or a university?
You know, the other thing that's going on here is money laundering, for sure.
This guy, you know, I invited onto the hangout with us tonight. I really hope he's here.
Slagorama.
Yeah. Oh, it's up to me to explain to him why this is not a meteorite.
Him and the 1,000 people that show up every month on is it a meteorite or meteorite?
It's like, dude, are you please tell me that you have full use of your eyesight and you're not going by touch alone? Because I can cut you a little slack, but this is just abusive.
Some of this is we've done a terrible job of teaching science in the schools, but
$115,000 is high felony as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
he must be wearing an unclean bubble wrap hat.
Let me see. He got it at the beach.
Got it at the beach.
Here's how they can get themselves out of saying, well, I'm not committing fraud because I say it's not tested. I don't have anything to prove the authenticity of where it came from. Well, maybe you should spend $300, get it documented, and then sell it.
Right.
I've noticed a lot of the scammers seem to talk so much about the magnetism as well, and it's just like no one really cares about like that. Like it's not going to be the focus of the thing is, oh, that it attracts a magnet. Like that's not going to be what you're going to advertise.
Yeah,
on any,
I have advertised and taken thousands of pictures of meteorites. I have attached magnets in a dozen of them, because they're my personal ones, and I keep a meteorite on my personal little one up there just so I can play with it. But you're absolutely right. When you see a magnet stuck to a rock, hit next.
This is Sakota Lynn rolled in breadcrumbs.
Yeah, this is Sakota Lynn, which is an iron, a straight up iron. But it okay, not to get gross, but it must have been pooped out because there's still corn.
My favorite with the magnets was I remember someone posting asking whether it was a meteorite, and they said it slightly repels a magnet. And was like, wait, how is your meteorite slightly repelling a magnet? Only another magnet can do that. Like, and then it will just attract the other part. Like, it just made no sense.
Looks like they're selling double pointed healing crystals.
Look at this. Look at this crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
we're
like
not even close, guys.
That's doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least it was only $300. It's not 15,000.
But here people actually call it out by name.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what you're doing right now is educating the scammers.
Yeah.
As well as the honest people.
Well, everyone on YouTube is looking at these names and taking screenshots and never buying from them again.
Yep.
I mean,
hopefully they're shamed for good.
I mean, this is like, it's strongly shocked. See, all he's doing is cut and pasting terms. He has no idea what it means. There's no NWA number. There's no weight. There's not even a weight. Dude, you're going to sell a meteorite. It's like selling a car by not telling me what year it is.
But it's poicolytic. They probably can't pronounce poicolytic, but yeah.
Unbelievable. So this is the kind of crap that really pisses me off when us off running honest meteorite businesses, and we have to deal with crap like this. And
they must be students of P.T. Barnum.
Well, I just have no time for it anymore whatsoever.
That's a beauty right there.
Yeah. So that was. We have to cleanse our eyeballs after all of that slag and crap. Let's look at some really, really sexy stuff. But I'm going to pause for a second. So before we look at the beautiful meteorites that we have overseas, I did want to show one other thing that you can do to research. If a meteorite is called out, you can go to the Meteoritical Bulletin. The web address is right here. Just hit screen. You can do a screen grab on that. You can search for the name of the meteorite and find out that it matches all the information. It has all the information and data here, and you'll find who the main mass holders are, including Oz Backman and Topher Spinnato. So if Topher Spin is selling this, it's probably legitimate. Another way to check or to continue your verification is search Google Images for that and see what pops up. And you'll see that all of these are basically from me and from people in the Met Bowl. On the other one, this is an odd example because there's only a few pictures out there. But we were talking about Sakota Lynn with rolled in breadcrumbs earlier. So if you look at that Sakota Lynn versus any one of these, you'll know that it's not what they're selling. So that's just another double check. Is you take the meteorite name, you go to the meteorite, the Meteoritical Bulletin database, and do research there, and bookmark that page because that's the Bible.
Yeah.
So now we're actually going to check in with our buddies overseas. And Maxime is checking in first, and I get to stop talking, which is great. Well, eBay gets me worked up, okay? You put a microphone in front of me and a webcam and let me go about eBay, I'll tell you some stories. But these are, right now it's education time, and Maxime is going to be discussing some, I think shock veining is what he was talking about.
Ooh, nice.
Hi everyone, Maxime here. I hope you're all doing good. So this week I thought it would be a great idea to talk about Martian meteorites. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of Martian meteorites in collection, and the ones I have are very small and probably not the most interesting meteorites to talk about. So I will keep that for later. And this week I will talk about shock veins. So I wanted to show you some specimens with particular shock veins this week, and I will try to give some explanations about that. So let's go. So many meteorites contain shock veins, and here are some examples. You can find them in Vinyales, Chelyabinsk, Alagunia 1, and its bearings such as this NWA 4420, Bondok, a very nice mesosiderite, and even in this wonderful Kenyan Diablo graphite nodule slice. But here are the two specimens I wanted to show you today, showing particular shock veins. The first one is this large 132 grams fragment of Jalu, an L6 chondrite found in Libya in the year 2000. Quite weathered actually. You can directly see this massive shock vein. And if you look closely, you may even see it under the fusion crust, what is absolutely great to see. But what is also very nice is that if you turn it over, you'll see that the shock vein continues and actually goes through the whole fragment, making it actually a shock plane.
Yes.
That is very interesting to see, and you can see how massive the shock vein is on that side. As always, I like to keep the best for the end, and I wanted to introduce to you this incredible Gydat Alarasis 640, which is massively covered with shock veins, forming a spider web-like structure. You know me, and when I saw that, I had to look at it under my microscope, so here are some microscope footage of these incredible structures. Look at that.
So complex.
So Gydat Alarasis 640 is an LL5 chondrite with a shock stage of 3, so it is not particularly and heavily shocked. Just as a recall, two shock veins are witnesses of the chaotic history of some meteorites, as they probably formed during massive impacts between asteroids. A shock stage of 3 means that this meteorite probably experienced pressures between 15 and 20 gigapascals. That is about 180 times the pressure you may feel in the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in our oceans. That just gives an idea on how violent those impacts should have been in order to deform the internal structure of the rocks. That is absolutely amazing. And look at those structures.
That's beautiful.
All of our meteorites had to have...
As always, I like to end my videos...
Orbit. I'm sorry, Topher, I was going to try and slip
that.
No,
go for it. Go for it.
All of our meteorites that come from our asteroid belt, so other than the planetary ones, they have all had to have some kind of impact in order to change from the asteroid belt orbits to an Earth crossing orbit. And so what we're seeing is the evidence of those shocks. And these shock veins, when you look at them in the plane, instead of just, cut on a surface and a line, when you look at them in the plane, we call them slicken sides.
Yep.
And another shock feature, but just viewed in a different way. Sorry.
No problem. And he said that this was a shock level 3 classified as. There is a shock level 4. That's the highest one. There are some specimens, some examples, some rocks of a particular fall that may not have experienced as much shock or experienced more shock than those that are classified. So when I'm looking at this, I would say shock value 4, right? Knee jerk, but it's classified as a 3. So maybe either I'm dead wrong, which could be, or this is just a atypical shock piece.
And look at those structures. As always, I like to end my videos with some random pictures, so here you are.
Nice condo.
Beautiful focus in photography. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
What is that?
Scrambled eggs.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
A mosaic.
Oh, hold on a second. Guess. Hint. Oh, by the way, guys, because Marco and Maxime are such high quality content providers, and they put so much into their videos, I've stopped watching them before the lives. I click through them to make sure technically they're sound. I grab some screen grabs, but I don't have my headset on, and I literally just put a little screen grab. So I'm watching this for the first time with you, and that's part of my fun of the hangout, because I know 90% of the stuff we're going to talk about, but
Norton Albright.
What's that?
Norton Albright. You said guess?
Yeah. You think that's Norton County?
Yeah, I think so.
I was going to guess Penta Blanca Springs, but yeah, along the same lines. That's
Albright.
It's not quartz.
Yeah. Okay. So
and Norton's in February, I believe.
Ah. Okay. So Mike Kelly probably once again. Let's see if he's right. Norton County. There you have it. Congratulations, Mike.
That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and also I really hope to be able to make a great video about Martian meteorites very soon, because seeing that landing on Mars last week was like there was like a spark in my head, and I was like, okay, I need to focus on Martian meteorites, like I think many of other collectors. So we will see in the future.
Yeah,
anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video about shock veins today, and see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, good job, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. And again, he focused on some education stuff too, so that's great. Look at how happy this guy is. We got Marco. Yeah. And I literally I click through, I grab enough screen grabs. I play enough so I can get them where they don't look absolutely drunk or, with their mouth all slurred. But Marco does some astrophotography and, of course, some oriented meteorites for us today.
Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, hangout time, and I have some nice oriented meteorites to show. So come on, let's have a look on them. Have fun, guys. Yeah, the first piece that I want to show today is this little 30-gram oriented heat shield. It's a very flat sample, as I said, a typical shape of a heat shield. It's almost complete, so full covered with fusion crust, and it shows a very nice backside. Yeah, here we go. Wow. We're now looking on the backside of the stone, and as you can see, it has a fantastic, very sharp rollover lip.
Ooh, around the whole backside. I thought it was broken.
Small, but
and also,
nice.
if you think in cross section, there's a 90-degree angle there at the back too.
Yeah, right here. You're on mute, Pat.
Sorry. if you took a cross section from the edge to the middle, where the rollover lip occurs, that there's a sharp angle there between the side and the back.
Now, I don't want to, we're always here for correcting each other or learning. He referred to this as fusion crust. And Jesse, you mentioned earlier that you have a little difficulty with fusion crust versus desert varnish. I'm going to step out on a limb here, and Pat, you can back me up or discount what I'm saying, but that's not fusion crust, that's desert varnish.
Yeah, so I would say that's probably not even really very well desert varnished. Fusion crust is the molten material of the meteorite, heated from the plasma as it passes through the atmosphere. And in most fusion crusts are very opaque. You can't see through them at all. In a few very special cases, the fusion crust is glassy, like on your Guadamus. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation, 003. And then, thank you. But this is just sandblasted. So the fusion crust has been sandblasted off. Desert varnish is a very, very thin layer, and we think it's mostly carbonates, and we think that it's a biological process, but with reflective cross-polarized light, you can see through desert varnish, whereas you can't see through the overwhelming vast majority of fusion crust. But yeah, this one's just sandblasted.
Yeah, and lucky for us and for Marco, it was exposed. This side was exposed, not the beautiful side, because that rollover lip was saved.
Yep.
And here we have today's second piece. This stone weighs 174 grams. It shows a nice nose cone orientation, and what is really interesting and special is that you can see nice clasts and melt pockets in this piece. So we're talking here about an impact melt, an oriented melt meteorite. I stop the rotation right now. And here you can see, for example, nice clasts.
Right.
Whoa.
With rivers of melt around them.
And here we have the backside of the piece. For example, nice clasts.
What did you say, Pat?
With rivers of melt around them, you can see, the sort of angular pieces of the actual virgin meteorite, and then you can see the dark melted stuff flowing around.
Yeah, wow, that's really, really neat.
Here, and here we have the backside of the piece. The crust is really weathered, so yeah, it's almost only the form of the piece that points to an oriented meteorite. So it doesn't show the typical characteristics, but I think it's also due to the material itself. So due to the melted material, and of course, because of the weathering.
It's beautiful, though. What a shape of that.
Yeah, the piece also showed a fracture surface. Normally I don't do any manipulations on oriented meteorites, but in this case I grinded that fracture surface, and you can also see here that dark melt pocket and all those nice clasts, which clearly points to a melt rock.
God, that's beautiful. You shouldn't slice it up, but if you slice it up, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah, and here we have the third piece for today. It's a 334 gram chondrite It shows a nice orientation, but the stone is really weathered. You can see that here on all those weathering products on the surface of the piece. But the really nice part of that stone is its backside. So come on, let's have a look on the backside. Here we go. The backside of it. You can see an extreme rollover lip all around the backside of the piece. And of course, nice and interesting contraction cracks on the backside.
Yeah, with the alligator skin.
What would this piece look like directly after the fall?
Sexy as hell.
Yeah, it's weathered, but I really like this piece.
That's another one you can tell probably had just bubbly fusion crust on the back rollover lip, as hard as that is.
Yeah, and very thick. The contraction cracks are when the thermal coefficient of expansion of the fusion crust and the inside of the rock are different, and the cracks just pull open as the thing cools. Because like it's almost like a glass, and as it or a liquid, but as it cools, is that what you're saying, Pat? Yes. Yeah. So the if you look at the crust as a bulk material, it has different mechanical properties than the inside of the rock, and everything except ice and a few other things, everything gets bigger when you heat it, gets smaller when you cool it, and so but things do that at different rates, which is called the thermal coefficient of expansion. And when two materials are dissimilar but intimately held together like this, the one that shrinks the most winds up cracking. Thank you, sir.
Okay, guys, that were the pieces that I wanted to show today. I want to end my video with some nice impressions of our universe, because in February we had some really nice clear nights, and I was able to capture some nice astrophotographs. So have fun at the hangout, and of course enjoy the beauty of our universe. Nice. See you next week, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks, Marco. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
They can reach out and touch the moon.
You can actually see the depth of that crater there. That's the one. That's beautiful.
Okay. The astronauts had a twist on that. When they did overboard urine dumps, the urine freezes into crystals and gets all sparkly and stuff, and the astronauts called that the constellation Urion.
Wow, this is beautiful. Yeah,
the nebulas in Orion are pretty amazing, even with a scope that ordinary people can afford, not this.
Yeah. Well, you can get it with binoculars for sure.
Yeah.
He spent a cold night out in Germany to get that video for us. Yeah. Wow.
He has some spectacular telescopes.
And so what's going on here? What's going on here in the nebula is that stars are being born from the hydrogen gas and all the stuff going on.
Yep. And yeah. It would be interesting, actually. I've been getting more into some of the geochemistry and cosmochemistry and some of the planetary disk processes and stuff. It'd be interesting to have somebody in the know talk about that stuff for us in a more general sense.
Yeah, I'm always open to having guest speakers and guest subjects, so feel free to send in any ideas you have, or if anyone wants to volunteer to be a guest, I'd like that.
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, so I told you it's not an interruption.
The Alpha Centauri thing, what that is that's actually Omega Centauri, and it's a globular cluster So it's like millions of stars in a big cluster, and it only comes north of the equator.
Are you talking about Alpha Centauri right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Alpha Centauri is a star within that.
Okay.
And
I'm not going to allow you to talk about Alpha Centauri right now, though.
Okay.
We have a guy who stayed up all night in Australia waiting just for this moment.
All right, sorry.
No.
I will defer. I will defer to Jesse on this then. Sorry, Jesse.
Over here at the moment, so
I thought this was still a picture from the astrophotographer guy.
No,
Sorry.
no. Well, I realize we're running at about 2 hours, and there's still a lot more cool stuff to go. So I'm just trying to pick up the pace a tiny bit. But it's so cool that we picked a subject that resonates with you. And after Jesse, you know what? Why don't you take over control? Let me pause this for a second. So on today's stop in the universe, we have Jesse Allen taking over. Jesse, tell us please about yourself a little bit before Alpha Centauri.
Okay, well, my background's in chemistry, but I've basically shifted fields, and I'm just working purely as an educator now in the local museum. So my connection with meteorites, other than like, even if I didn't work there, I'd still collect meteorites, I think. But what's gotten me really into it is, I'll bring this over. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. Can you see this thing that I just brought over, this webpage here?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got this thing called the Science on a Sphere, which is designed by NOAA, which is the, you guys all would know NOAA. So it's like a big globe that hangs from the ceiling, and we can put up different planets and stuff onto it. There's a whole bunch of Earth data sets too, but we can put up different planets. And there's over 500 different data sets from NASA that we can put up there. Even different views of Mars, where you can look at like the Martian topography and, you know, the moons of Mars, things like that. So my favorite part of working at the museum is I get to do the explorations, is what we call them, the explorations on the Science on a Sphere, when like school groups come in. And there's one that I recently designed, which is all about Mars. And so I've really been having a good time with my Martian meteorites recently, because the way that I finished the presentation is I tell the kids, by the way, if you want like a photo with a piece of Mars, or to hold it in your hand, like, you know, come on over. And like everyone in like the science center just like crowds around all these school kids wanting to to get a picture with Mars.
That's awesome.
So that is awesome.
Yeah, so it's really fun. Like and there's always new stuff being added to their range of data sets as well. So yeah, NOAA and NASA have collaborated with getting all their data and turning it into these circular sort of projections. It's really amazing, the technology behind how they do it. They have 4 projectors around the room, and it just sort of warps and distorts the sides of the image so that it all forms a perfect circle. And when you look at it, it looks like a hologram. And these things are pretty new, but I think they're starting to get more popular in museums worldwide. So yeah, it's a really cool educational tool, the Science on a Sphere. And by the way, they have a website where you can get all of the Science on a Sphere data sets for free. So just to show you guys that, if you just Google Science on a Sphere, then there's a free iPad app that you can download, but you can also go and explore all of the data sets. And obviously we'd be clicking on the space ones, and you can go here and select whatever you want to out in space. And you know, they've even got some like artists computer generated exoplanets, whatever you want to. And you know, like Io's moon or whatever, you can then select that, view it on an interactive sphere online. You can you know, draw around on it. So
oh my word.
I mean, it's not as good as having the big 2-meter globe in the museum, but this can be fun for teachers to do in the classroom. And also, if you have kids that have an iPad, the SOS Explorer app is great to download. You can do all of this, and it's actually much higher resolution on the iPad than it is on the website. So yeah, I would recommend, if you've got kids that are into this sort of stuff, or if you have an iPad, download the SOS Explorer. It's great for yeah. Can
you be 49 years old and still play with it?
Yeah. I tried to get it on my phone, but the phone screen's too small. Don't bother on the phone. But if you've got an iPad, then yeah, the SOS Explorer is great for that. And so that comes all courtesy of our friends in America. The only thing that annoys me about it is all of their units are all in degrees Fahrenheit and feet and everything. So I got to do all my mental calculations for it.
And we as scientists and engineers in the US, we use the SI units, but for some reason, us and North Korea and Ghana or something like that are the only ones on the whole freaking planet who haven't gone metric.
Yeah, so that's what I do, and that's what got me into meteorites. I mean, I've always been into space, but everything in our museum, there's like real, you know, it's real like practical, like there's tangible things you can pull out for it and everything. I was like, there's nothing, like space is so far away. There's nothing that we can pull out that makes people feel like they're connected to space. And then I was like, well, hold up, meteorites. And so, yeah, it's really funny, like people, I think, connect a lot more when you tell them you've got an actual piece of space that you're going to show them, or something that's landed from space. They then feel like it's a lot more of an approachable sort of topic for them, because they're like, okay, all right, this isn't some far out thing that we never have any contact with. Like there's bits of you know, rocks from space landing on us all the time. But yeah, that's just a little bit about the science on a sphere and what I do. But Alpha Centauri is what I've been having some fun learning about recently. So, well, I guess I'll get into that. So first off, I thought Alpha Centauri was just one star. I didn't know anything about it when Topher gave me this topic, but now, after looking into it, I understand this poster a little bit better. We've got 3 stars here, and that's because Alpha Centauri is actually a triple star system. And I want to start a little bit about talking about multiple star systems. So, you can get all sorts of crazy orbits in these multiple star systems. I've highlighted the type of orbit that Alpha Centauri is in. And when I first found out that it was a multiple star system, my first question was, how common is this? Like, I didn't realize that triple star systems like this, you know, 8% they're estimating of star systems are triple star systems. To me, that's crazy. Like that's a massive number. And the best estimates place the number of binary star systems at 33%, which if you double it, because, you know, obviously they all have 2 stars, if you double that number, what that's saying is there's more stars in double star systems than there are in single stars.
Interesting.
So yeah, like if you're just going by the star systems, there's more single star systems technically, but because there's many more stars in these multi-star systems, the large majority of the universe's stars are actually part of multi-star systems. And they've discovered them even up to, I think 7 or 8 being the highest, but these are some of the wacky sorts of orbits you can get. I really love the quadruple ones down here. Like you can see this one is like 2 binary star systems that are then also in their own binary orbit. This one here is kind of like what you've got with Alpha Centauri. You've got like a binary with another one going around it, but then it's also got another one in a larger orbit around it. So you can get these crazy and somehow stable orbital mechanics where you've got multiple stars just dancing around each other, doing this cosmic dance for billions of years. And yeah, so Alpha Centauri is one of these. So let's get a little bit more into Alpha Centauri. So the 2 stars that are doing this close dance around each other, the tango, they're getting real intimate. Alpha Centauri A and B, sometimes just referred to as Alpha Centauri AB. They appear as one point of light in the night sky. So this is Alpha Centauri AB. And then quite far away from our perspective and so faint that you can't even see it with the naked eye is Alpha Centauri C, which is commonly called Proxima Centauri. These are the best images that the Hubble telescope has taken of these stars. So this is Alpha Centauri A and B and Proxima down here. Now they are it's the closest star system to Earth, with this pair being 4.35 light years from Earth, which just makes you realize like just how far spread out everything is. If that's the closest star to Earth and it's 4.35 light years away, with Proxima being a tiny little bit closer, I guess that's why it's got the name Proxima. Actually, because of its orbit, it will eventually be in tens of thousands of years. It'll actually be further away than this pair AB, but for now, it's the closer one. So their relative sizes, you can see that Alpha Centauri A is quite similar to our sun. It's what they call a yellow dwarf, which I don't like that name. It's a bit of a misnomer calling it a yellow dwarf, because our sun is actually white if you look at it from space. It's only yellow when you look at it from the surface of the Earth, and the atmosphere is scattering all of the blue light, and that's what makes it yellow. So yeah, we call it our sun a yellow dwarf though. So but it's white. So Alpha Centauri A is a similar size, 1.1 solar masses. Alpha Centauri B is slightly smaller at 0.9, and it's an orange dwarf. What I found interesting here is that slight decrease in solar mass from 1.1 to 0.9, and then seeing the associated drop in luminosity that you get there. So even though you're only going down 0.2 solar masses, you're going down from 1.5 times the luminosity of our sun to 45% the luminosity of our sun. So a small decrease in size of a sun causes a huge decrease in luminosity, is what I learned from looking at this data, which makes sense, I guess, because there's just less energy that you need to push the sun out and stop it collapsing on itself. And then we've got Proxima down here. Its luminosity, it's 12% the size of our sun as far as mass goes, but its luminosity is less than 1% of the luminosity of our sun. So it doesn't scale. These sorts of things don't scale linearly. Even though the solar mass is only 12%, the luminosity is hundreds of times less than our sun. So much smaller that you can't even see it with the naked eye. So I found that really interesting, seeing about how the size of the stars affects the luminosity. As for their orbital mechanics, these two, Alpha Centauri AB, are dancing around each other once every 80 years. And Proxima, at a much greater distance, takes 550,000 years to do one of its orbit. The closest distance that these two stars come is 11 astronomical units, which I looked up to give something to compare that to. That's close to the Sun-Saturn distance. So these are quite close together. If you imagine just another sun being out just past Saturn, that's how close these two are together. And you can think that might make it pretty tricky for planets to exist in that region, but you never know. Down here, to give you an idea of just how far away Proxima is, 13,000 astronomical units. So it's much, much further away than these are from each other. It'll make its closest approach in tens of thousands of years, yeah, when it comes closer. And yeah, it's a red dwarf. So now, where there's stars, there's planets. I was really curious about exoplanets, basically, with the Alpha Centauri system, because I didn't even know that it was 3 different stars. When I found out it was 3 different stars, I was like, okay, surely if they're the closest ones, surely we've had a peak. We've been looking at them trying to find exoplanets. And the most common technique for finding exoplanets is this method called the transit method, where you look at a bulk number of stars. You're just looking at hundreds or even thousands of stars at the same time. And you're monitoring the brightness of those stars to see if it dims down a little bit. And if it just so happens to be that a planet is in a planar orbit that you're viewing edge on from the edge, and it passes in front, then you'll see that dip. But the large majority of stars out there aren't going to have their planets in this perfect edge on orbit where it transits in front of it. So the transit method is good for detecting exoplanets in a bulk amount of the sky, But when we're looking specifically at something that's of interest like the Alpha Centauri system, you've got very little chance of getting success with the transit method. So they haven't found any exoplanets from this. However, they have discovered 2 exoplanets using this more recent technique. In 2016 and 2019, they discovered exoplanets around Proxima, which is the small red dwarf. And this blows my mind, the way that they discovered the exoplanets around Proxima Centauri. They were analyzing the spectrum of light that is reaching the surface of the Earth from this star, and they were analyzing slight variations in the color. The color varies ever so slightly depending on if the star is moving towards us or away from us. Now, here's the crazy thing. It's constantly moving towards us at 22 kilometers per second. But within that extremely fast movement towards us of 22 kilometers a second, there are slight variations, and that slight variation of velocity was measured to be 1.4 meters per second. So it's coming towards us incredibly fast, but there's this slight variation, and the only thing that could be causing that is the tug, the gravitational pull of another object around it. And so this is how they discovered the exoplanets. By detecting that wobble, they can tell how big the planets are and how far away they are. And they did this twice. So they detected first a big wobble, and then they detected a wobble within that wobble, basically. So that just blows my mind that we're looking at something that's 4 light years away, and we are detecting velocity differences of 1.4 meters per second. Like,
yeah.
It's 4 light years away. They're detecting velocity differences of 1.4 meters per second, and they're using light to do it. That blew my mind. So we've discovered 2 exoplanets like that. And quite excitingly, just last month, a very strong candidate for a 3rd exoplanet in the Alpha Centauri system, which is around Alpha Centauri A, the largest one, was found. And the way that they found this one was by direct imaging. And this is the image of it. It's not got anything in the center there because this star is so bright. What they've got to do, they use this technique called a coronagraph, where they block out. So they basically cover up so that they're not getting any light. Just like if someone was to, like a security guard was to shine a torch in your eyes, you know, you can't see what's going on. Then you put your hand up and you cover the torch, and then you can all of a sudden see. So they cover up that so that the star's light is not overexposing the telescope. And then they're able to directly image around it because it's so close. And using infrared light, they detected this little anomaly here, and they did detect it moving as well when they took these pictures at different times. And that's pretty much a very strong, like, not quite confirmed yet, but it's expected to be confirmed very soon. And we don't get many exoplanets by direct imaging, so that's pretty impressive. It makes you think, if this is the first picture we're getting of it, I wonder what sort of techniques we could use to potentially one day, you know, have quite a good picture of this exoplanet. And so that was just last month that was discovered. And so a little bit on these exoplanets, I found these great artist renditions of them. This is what the expected view would be from an exoplanet orbiting Alpha Centauri A, which is the largest one in the system. So you would have 2 stars, a binary sunset, just like Luke Skywalker on Tatooine. So that's pretty cool. Because they're close enough, you would get that nice binary sunset. We expect, based on the results for this one, for candidate 1, that it's a Neptune to Saturn-sized planet or a massive dust. This thing, it could be a massive dust. That's the main reason they haven't confirmed it as an exoplanet yet. There's definitely something there, though. So we've definitely detected something. It's unlikely to be rocky, even though they did this picture, because everyone loves rocky planets. It's unlikely to be rocky. Its orbital distance, very similar to Earth's orbital distance, 1.1 astronomical units, which is the distance of the Earth from the sun. And its orbital period quite similar to our year, but its radius potentially much bigger and many more Earth masses, which is why we don't think that it's a rocky planet. But this was the interesting thing that I found reported in the news about it. The scientists are saying, well, hold up, just because it could be a Neptune and Saturn-sized planet, don't lose hope, because it's 20 to 50 Earth masses. There's the potential for there to be habitable exomoons. And that would be exciting, right? So we could have rocky moons around this one. That would be receiving the similar sort of sunlight that we get on Earth. So, you know, that would be a really exciting environment.
So the search for exoplanets is now the search for exomoons as well.
Yeah, imagine if we can somehow get that data one day. That would be amazing. Like, never say never, right? You don't know what they're going to come up with. This would be the view, the sunrise from the planets on Proxima Centauri, of which there have been 2 discovered. And right in the distance here, that is the Alpha Centauri A/B. So you're not close enough that you can get a you're not close enough that you'd get that nice binary sunset, but you would have something with like a similar sort of glow to like the moon in the sky. You know, when the big sun has set, this would be quite bright, but not bright enough that it would make it daytime. Now, these are exciting ones because they have the potential to be Earth-like or super Earth-like. So Proxima Centauri C also has a potential, to be a super Earth. So either of these could be a rocky planet. So due to their distance from the star, and it being a red dwarf, its luminosity, its radiation is much weaker. So they're likely to be rocky or icy with the potential for surface oceans. And the thing that is very different about these red dwarf systems is the orbital distance. It's extremely close. It's packed in 0.05. That means it's 20 times closer to the sun than what Earth is. So that doesn't mean it's getting ridiculous levels of radiation, because this sun is a weak radiator. So it's kind of a good thing to be that close when you're around. It's like huddling around a campfire as it's going out. Like you need to get closer to get the same warmth. And so these are both in the habitable zone, which is, sorry, no, actually Proxima B is in the habitable zone. Proxima C isn't. So other than that, its properties are quite similar to Earth, except for the orbital period. 11.2 days is its orbital period. And while we haven't got confirmation on whether it's tidally locked yet or not, it's expected that being this close to its star, it would be tidally locked, which would mean one side permanent light, one side permanent darkness, and then this weird sort of twilight zone, which could be more habitable, where you might have liquid water. Its equilibrium temperature is similar to Earth's, and what that just means is that there's the potential that water could hopefully exist because it's in that habitable zone in liquid form. And unfortunately, there's one problem with it. Because it is so close, it's getting the right amount of like warmth from its sun, but it's getting far too much high energy radiation, basically. So the stellar wind, its stellar wind pressures are 2,000 times that of Earth. So that could be a bit of a problem for the prospects of life on this place. Alpha Centauri C, we know less about. It's further away. It's much larger. It's 7 Earth masses, and it has a much lower temperature because it's further away. So Proxima Centauri C probably not as interesting as Proxima B because it's just too far away from its sun. And this gives you an idea of how close Proxima B's orbit is. This is probably the most interesting exoplanet that I'm mentioning today. That's how close it is compared to Mercury's orbit in this little green zone here. So it's incredibly close to its star. And now just to finish on, I was thinking, damn, it's a shame that there are these stars and exoplanets that are so far away. We'll never get a chance to explore them, or at least definitely not in our lifetimes. But then I came across this information. Stephen Hawking and Yuri Milner announced in 2016 the Breakthrough Starship project, which is aimed at reaching the Alpha Centauri system within our lifetimes. And how are they going to do this? Well, first off, Yuri Milner just invested $100 million. So he invested $100 million, which is to begin to develop proof of concept technology for this, and to also fund researchers that need to pay for telescope time to look at these systems and to listen to these systems for radio signals and things like that. And how are they going to reach Alpha Centauri? By unleashing the power of chips in space. And no, I don't mean these types of chips, not starchy chips. We're doing star chips in space. That's how we're going to get there. So these are actual star chips. This is the current generation of star chips that cost about $250 or so each, which is incredibly cheap. And a bunch of these have been launched on recent missions just as a proof of concept sort of thing. And yeah, they give great data, more than what Sputnik gave in its day. And you know, this is just an early sort of prototype for a star chip, but it gives magnetism data, gyroscope, and accelerometer sort of data. It has its own little solar panel. The idea is to basically pack as much as you can into one of these little chips. And hopefully over the next 20, 30 years, the technology allows us to incorporate everything that you could want for an interstellar voyage onto something that is the size of one of these star chips. And this is how they're going to launch them, or how they're planning to launch them to the Alpha Centauri system. You have a huge laser array with powerful lasers that haven't been designed yet, but that the scientists think we might have in a few decades' time. You have your star chip in the middle, and then you have a very thin light sail. And this tiny little star chip and this big light sail then get blasted by the lasers and instantly accelerated to these really, really fast speeds. And so this is the plan for how we're going to send these star chips to the Alpha Centauri system. And this is what it looks like to give you an idea of the speed that it would take. The timeline, it would take less than a minute for the star chips to go past the moon. After an hour, they'd be passing Mars. Within a matter of days, they would be outside of the solar system. Within a matter of days.
Crazy.
Yeah, and then it's nothing for 20 years until you come past Alpha Centauri. But I'm sure that on the way, see, the thing is, even if we don't reach Alpha Centauri, this would still give us interesting information about what interstellar space is like. But the goal would be 20 years later to reach the Alpha Centauri system and to be able to beam back pictures, which, yes, would take 4.37 years to get back to us. So we'd have to wait just that little bit longer. But, you know, we're used to that with Mars, right? Mars is already getting results a couple of minutes later. So we get it 4 years later, and we could hopefully get pictures of these exoplanets. And because this is an incredibly perilous voyage, the technique that they plan on using is just sending out hundreds or thousands of them. I did promise that there was a turtle connection here. I mentioned turtles earlier. When I was thinking about it, I viewed it like how the mother turtle goes onto the beach and just lays hundreds of eggs. You know, the unfortunate reason why it's doing that is because most of those turtles aren't going to survive the voyage to adulthood. And so you can think of the star chips as like this huge array of little turtles that we're shooting out into interstellar space. And unfortunately, we know only a small proportion of those star chips are actually going to survive that voyage. So I'm hopeful that this will happen in our lifetimes. Their plan is sometime in the next, 20 or 30 years to be launching this type of mission. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. So yeah, thanks guys. And thanks Topher for giving me a topic, which I thought I knew everything about. I was just like, yeah, Alpha Centauri, that's just the closest star, easy peasy. But it was really a rabbit hole I went down. It was very, very interesting. So yeah, thanks awesome. Everybody.
You did a fantastic job, buddy. Thanks a lot. I mean, seriously.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah,
amazing.
No doubt. Let me remove the spotlight from you and hit pause for a second. All right. So I just announced and rolled out our new T-shirts for the Knowledge Bolide crew members. We're hitting 1,000 subscribers this week. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, you'll see everyone here representing with their Knowledge Bolide crew member shirts. But Really appreciate everyone joining us today. We really super went long, about 40 minutes overtime, but there's no way that we were going to stop this and cut Jesse out because I stupidly put him last in the presentation. Next time I'll do you first. Good night, guys. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, Topher. Great
Had a
content
blast
today.
Good night, everyone. Thanks, Jesse.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Big time.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Awesome
Bye-bye.
job.